Hey family, what's today? March 27th, 1327, it's 127, and I am checking in from the States. I should be smiling. I landed in Chicago last Wednesday, and how do I say it? On Monday, I made an impulsive decision that I was going to come home. And I got online, I booked a flight, and here I am on Friday. This is Friday, March 27, finally checking in. This is crazy. This is crazy. I barely even know where to start because I am literally in this space like, where am I? What's going on? How did this happen? And I have to be honest, I'm hoping I can get through this without any tears because I have so much built up. And I'm just going to be absolutely honest about, how I'm feeling, what's going on, all that. I got up from Dubai. I got up on Wednesday morning. The flight was at 9 something. And I think it was actually Tuesday night when I was just finishing up packing, sending out the last few emails that I needed to send out. And I think it was the first time that things had finally started to get quiet. Quiet enough for me to be able to just kind of take in everything that was going on. On Monday, when I made the decision, I was having a conversation with a friend, and she was basically like, because I'm, ready to just jump back into work, get things done with the students, all that stuff. And she's like, hey, students aside, have you thought of a contingency plan? Have you thought about, if things actually happen, what you would do, where you would go, all that. And I was like, well, where is this coming from? And I have honestly chosen not to keep up with the news and everything that's going on around us because it's heavy. It's heavy. And at that time, I had no idea about the whole ultimatum, you either open up or we coming in. And at that point, I think it was like, you got 48 hours. And if you ain't making no moves, we're going to make moves. So I hadn't heard that. And I was like, okay, here we are. And the discussion around that was the possibility of, power sources being taken out, access to water being interrupted, all this stuff. And I was like, okay, I receive it. And here we are. So I called a friend, and I said, the only answers is yes and no. And I said, is it time for me to go? And there was a pause, and there was an answer of yes. So I said, okay, let me go on and book a flight, and I'll do it. So booked the flight and still had Tuesday to kind of organize myself. And even that Monday night, I was spiraling. It was like this, my whole world is shattering. What do I pack? What do I leave behind? Is my whole world done? All this stuff, just basically in this spiral of, I don't know what's about to happen, but I'm going to go ahead and do what I need to do. And it was good that I experienced that on Monday, because on Tuesday, when I actually started, kind of going through the things that I was packing and just a different mindset around, I'm just leaving for a little bit, I'll be back. It felt much better. So then Wednesday, I get up, go to the airport. And that was the craziest thing as well. I'm sorry, of course, another reflection. With everything going on, nature had the nerve to show out. So it's raining like crazy, these mass rains, and, the streets are flooding, that's what Dubai does. And, they're basically saying that the airspace is open, make sure you get to the airport in enough time so that you don't have to worry about, all of the issues with with the flooding and all that stuff. So anyway, I get to the airport on time, and I made it to the flight. What was interesting was that this was the first time I booked premium economy. So usually there's like on Emirates there's economy, and then there's premium economy, and then there's business, and then there's first class. And I don't know what it was, because it's a one-way flight, and I was basically like, I just don't feel like being bothered. And I've never flown premium economy, so it was like, let me just give myself some space. When I tell y'all on premium economy, I think it was probably, there was a couple, it was me, there was a couple in front of me, there was an older lady in front of them, and then the rest of the section was completely empty. No, there was another woman kind of sitting on the other side. Business had a lot of folks in there. First class, I think there were probably 2 or 3, but economy was full. And I still don't understand, because there was a lot of folks coming in from coming to Chicago from like Bangalore or something like that. The majority, I don't know if there were any other Americans on that flight. And if it was, if they had American passports, they were coming in from, a part of India. So I swear on the flight, it was the most peaceful. Oh my goodness. And it's crazy because I feel like, and I guess I'm realizing it now, I was talking to my girl Max, and it's almost like being in a tornado. When you're in the eye of the storm, you don't see the tornado. You're just dealing with everything that's moving around you. And now that I feel like I'm out of the eye of the storm, and I think that was kind of the flight, it was like, wow, heavy. And then when I got here, when I landed, all of this stuff that I'm seeing online about ICE being in the airport and, having all these long lines to get in, it wasn't the case in Chicago. It was completely fine. I was in, out, went through border control, all of that stuff. It was very easy. And then I ended up coming here, and I landed Wednesday night. And Wednesday night, I just kind of sat here, I just sat, and I was like, just feeling absolutely heavy. And then Thursday, I woke up, and it was like something was sitting on my chest. I couldn't get out of the bed. I couldn't turn on the lights. I couldn't do anything. And I was like, this may be a combination of like depression and fatigue, and finally realizing everything that was going on around me. Definitely some PTSD, because every single sound is just full of anxiety. Like this morning, I'm sitting here, there's some construction going on, and one of the trucks must have just like bammed something down. And that bam is like, what is it? Here it goes again. So I'm still in this, and it just sounds like fireworks. It just sounds like big sounds. And then I'm just, physically reacting. But only this morning, I woke up with an intention. I said, I'm going to get up. I'm going to get moving, and I'm going to make something happen. So thank you to everybody. Thank you all for continuing to check in. And if you find that it's taking me a little longer to respond, just know that it's because everything is just so heavy, still moving. So I was sitting here this morning because I literally impulsively booked a flight, no plan, no nothing. And in my mind, I was like, okay, I'll get to Chicago, and from Chicago, I'll go home. And then from home, I'll go and visit my friend. And I was just trying to decide if I was going to book a flight here, or if I were going to jump on the train, or whatever it is. So I started looking this morning, actually last night, because I'm still jet lagged. So I'm waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning. And I was just kind of scrolling, trying to figure out what I was going to do. So what's absolutely crazy, is I was looking at a flight from Chicago to St. Louis, and the flight one way, $800. And I'm like, that's about the price that I just paid to get here. And then I'm looking at trains, and the trains are crazy, like 150, and don't say nothing about no business class. Everything is just super expensive. And I know that that's one of the results of everything that's going on there with access to oil and things just rising. So I did. I decided to get on a train, and at least that's in line. But I was thinking, especially since, so all of this is just disruption. I'll be honest, I feel absolutely displaced because this is not an adventure trip. It's more of like a refuge trip. And even if it's not permanent, even the temporariness of it, like me being home, I still got rent over there. I still have a car note. I still have bills. I still have things that I have to pay for. And this is part of, America basically saying evacuate. So I'm like, okay, if America's saying evacuate and I've evacuated, are there funds, right? There has to be some type of funds available to, especially for folks who live abroad. So I got on the U.S. Embassy website this morning, and I was like, just kind of looking to see if there are any emergency funds. And as soon as I got on the website, I did. There's a link that says emergency financial assistance, and I'm looking over here because it's still on my computer. And I was like, even if it's some type of stipend, something, to help with the balance of having to leave one place and go to the other. And I should have known it wasn't going to be much, because even with the evacuation that they offered, they were like, yeah, we can give you a flight to get out of there. We'll drop you off in Greece. Once you get to Greece, it's on you. So you could either stay in Greece on your funds, you can book a flight home on your funds, but everything was like, we'll give you this free flight, one baggage to Greece, and then you figure out your life from there. So just because of that experience, weeks ago at this point, I knew that there would probably be limited funds. So it may be too early for jokes, okay? But I went to the website, and it's titled Emergency Financial Assistance. And the paragraph under it is basically saying, although there's turmoil happening, there are no funds available. And right now, you need to call your mama, your daddy. You need to call your sister, your brother, because what you ain't getting is something from us. And then there's another tab that basically says repatriation loans. So they're like, if you that destitute, you can apply for a repatriation loan, which it says clearly you will be paying this back. This ain't no free money. You will be paying this back. And, it's based on approval. So I swear, just even reading that, I'm like, who got McDonald's money? Like, you want McDonald's? You got some McDonald's money? You want some repatriation? You got some repatriation money? Like, American government is like, we put you in this, but you gonna get yourself out. So thank the Lord. Oh my goodness, I'm in a space where I still can. I'm beautifully positioned to be able to work online. And of course, like, my biggest issue right now is the time difference. So I'm working online. I do have enough sitting around that I can book the flights and get to where I need to be, and still have a little bit of cushion. But as far as being home, America ain't got no McDonald's money. So I'm gonna have to figure it out, which is one of the reasons that I'm having to just kind of be strategic with what I'm doing, because ideally I would have loved to go home, but the way that, and I'll just say specific, from Chicago to home is 6 hours on a train. And then and I would just go home to visit family for a little bit and then move on. And Alton, from where I'm going to, is another 6 hours. And I'm like, I cannot put that pressure, that constraint, and finances, and everything else. I don't have a car. If need be, I will get a hotel. And then also getting back, I still have to pay for the flight back to Dubai whenever that happens. So it's a lot of, I won't say it's pressure. It doesn't feel like pressure. If anything, it's making me think about what I'm doing with my life. Because usually when I come to the States, I know that it's temporary. I know that coming home, and I'm saying home as in the States, coming home is usually like a summer adventure, a summer excursion where, I'll book, some things to do. And then I know that I'm going back to my other home. But this impulsive coming home, it really does feel like being displaced, because I've had to think about, okay, so what are your options? Where can you stay? And I'm thinking about like all the family members who has full homes. So I'm not going to say that there's no space for me, because I know if I wanted to reach out to certain folks, yeah, I got a bedroom. Yes, I have this. Yes, I have that. And I know that's the case. So yes, I'm not forgetting about you all. But as far as, having to be here for a while, getting from one place to the next, I mean, the States is huge. So, being able to stay in Illinois or go to another state or go to another state, and then thinking about, having to work. I'm not here on vacation. So I made a decision to go and stay with my friend. And, that's where I'm going to be until it's time to go back home. But yeah, it's so much. It's so much. And I was thinking, is it time for me to buy property so that I can have a space here when I come home? Is it time to, look at another country to buy property so that I can actually have a space outside of the UAE? Is it time to come back permanently? I'm not there. I'm definitely not there. Is it time to shift from Dubai? I'm not there either. It just feels like, I've been not necessarily coasting. I've just been kind of reacting to the life that I've created for myself. And now it is worth having some contingency plans. So I will say, which was so interesting, because my mom has always told me to get my life together. You got some rental insurance. You got to make sure everything is okay. I have lived in so many apartments and I have never had rental insurance. And, it's just been faith, like nothing's going to happen, and nothing has happened. But when I tell you, when I was getting ready to book that flight to come home, within the days, I was like, okay, we gonna get some rental insurance, because let me be gone and something come in and mess up everything I got, furniture, everything. I'm gonna need to be reimbursed. So I booked some rental insurance, got my rental insurance within 2 days. And I'm like, okay, so now I can go, just with the comfort of knowing if something does happen while I'm gone, I'm covered, So that was a grown-up decision. And I know a grown-up decision that needed to happen years ago, but God know what he's doing. It's definitely happening when it should. So yeah, that's that. What else? I'm not okay. I'm not okay. I'm not going to cry either. I never could have expected to experience something like this. Even being here, it just feels like, and my friend was like, Tiff, when you go home, be nice. And I'm like, I haven't talked to him, but I was like, what's that mean? Be nice. Is it sad to say that it's not that I don't want to be here, but it feels like I'm being forced to be somewhere that I don't want to be. And it's not that I don't want to be here. It's, just the place that I've called home, when it feels dangerous to be home. And I get it, the folks, like I was saying in one of the previous videos, like my sister was like, well, don't mess around and be Katrina. Like, I understand the folks who were like, I'm gonna ride this out. And I think that's the thing that I have to realize. I have not said goodbye. I've just come out of the noise to breathe, to just soften my heart, to, and I think that's the thing. Like, I'm feeling sad. I'm not feeling sad. But I'm finally realizing everything that was going on. And it's just a shame. It's a shame. It makes absolutely no sense. It's inconsiderate. Will things get back to the way they were? I don't know. But when you have to, even temporarily walk away from your livelihood, like something that you've built, and just, you got 2 luggage. Yeah, it's not a good feeling. It's not a good feeling at all. And it's a feeling that's like, it's just full of question marks. I don't know what's going to happen. I have no idea what's happening this week, what's happening the next week. When am I going back? Am I going back? What's going to happen? All this stuff is just, it is heavy, and I'm over it. And what's crazy to me is like, how can so much be going on in this one area? And then as soon as you lift up and go to another area, it's like, oh, the rest of the world is just moving. Even the faces look different. Y'all just grinding. When I was in the airport, it was just, regular people commuting, trying to get from one place to the next. But there was no like real trauma on their faces. And then here in Chicago, it just looks like city living, like folks grinding one place to the next. Nothing matters but this. And, on the other side, it does feel like absolute survival. It's feeling like survival. And just to be able to lift yourself up and go somewhere else, it's like, oh yeah, it's still survival, but it looks different. It looks different. It looks very different. Anyway, I feel like I'm rambling right now. So I am safe. I am home. For how long, I don't know. Y'all president is clowning. It went from the ultimatum being 48 hours to an extension of 6 more days or 5 more days. And now I woke up this morning and he like, I'm gonna give you till April 6th. What is going on? Like, what is going on? And the scariest part that just keeps sitting in my heart is that right now, everything that's happening is in defense. If somebody's like punching at you, you just got your arms up trying to block the punches. These countries that are getting punched at has not started punching back. And that's the part. That's the part. So, we will see. We will see. Keep the prayers coming. I mean, even not just for me, but just for everything that is going on. Keep the prayers coming. The entire world is impacted. And I know everybody's seeing it in different ways. But yeah, here we are. Here we are. I'll continue to send these updates, even though I'm home. The things that are going on in my mind and my space and everything, I'll keep sharing these. I need to start writing again, because when I was on the plane, I was thinking about this whole idea of premium economy. And I'm going to write a piece about proximity, because having this in the way that I'm making sense of it is like, when your whole life has been economy and now you got a little bump to premium economy, you're still sharing the same bathroom with economy. So you're not out of economy, right? You got a couple seats ahead, but when you got to use the bathroom, you're still going backwards. Once you get to business class, now you're sharing bathrooms with first class, right? And I'm just literally on the plane. And I feel like premium economy is this like proximity to upward mobility, and economy, upward mobility to premium economy, and then upward mobility to business class and all of that stuff. So I've been thinking about my life in this sense of proximity, but just thinking about it in premium economy, like you're not quite there, but you're definitely further than what you were. You still haven't accessed this. There's still more to go. And that's the part that I'm wondering about, like, what is the more to go? And all of these ideas, whether it's living abroad, whether it's a job, whether it's relationships, whether it's family, whether it's like all of these different things, like what does it look like to upwardly mobilize into something else? And one of the things that I've been thinking about is like not going home. And what does that mean? What does that mean as far as my life? And have I, anyway, all right, that's it. I'm not going to make this longer than what it needs to be. But Keep the prayers coming, you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I love all of you. Thank you for watching the videos. Thank you for checking in. And I'll keep you all posted. All right, bye.